Hi everyone, and welcome back to my Know by Year. In this video, I'm going to be telling you about an email I received from a German institute and the free guide to conscious consumption that they shared with me. So, as a micro-influencer, or somebody who creates content for an online platform and has some kind of following, I have got a few brand offers already. And all of them, 99.9% of them, I don't even respond to or I turn down, like point blank. Throughout my own journey of being on the path towards being a more conscious consumer and navigating the environment of influencers and the content that I consume myself, I have decided, it has become increasingly clear to me that I can't do sponsored content on this platform without being truly hypocritical and going directly against my goals as both an influencer and somebody who is trying to navigate this environment as a consumer. So you can be reassured that you're safe here. I'm never going to pitch you anything to buy or anything to want in an intentional way. I'm going to be dealing with stuff that I own that maybe I was influenced to buy, but I hope that will be less and less of a focus as time goes on. And most of the things that were purchased out of influence with no practical value leave my life, leave my wardrobe, leave my kitchen, leave wherever it's currently residing. So anyway, you are not here to be influenced, I hope, and you will not be influenced in negative ways. However, there was one email that I received in my inbox that I thought, whoa, this sounds interesting. It's not something to buy, but it's something that you might want to go check out, and I'll link it in my description below. I'm also going to talk through it with you today and do an exercise from the guide that they've shared with me together with you on camera. So here's the email that I received. I'll post it on screen for you to read along with me. Dear Alexa. So they used my name. I appreciate that. Even though my name's not my channel, right? So it's kind of tricky to find. Dear Alexa, you clean out regularly, but new things accumulate quickly. Does that sound familiar? I'm getting in touch with you today because we at TU Berlin, together with Con Policy, have carried out a research project on the topic of decluttering and reduced consumption. As part of this project, we have published the interactive Compass for Reducing Consumption, the guide to freeing yourself from excess, which we'd like to draw your attention to, and they've linked it in the email. We've seen that you are also interested in the topics conscious consumption, so maybe the guide is of interest. We'd be delighted if you were interested in working with us and would send us an offer. So I did reply saying that I don't take paid sponsorship offers because of the ethos of my channel. So I was not paid for this, just to make that clear. I also responded past the deadline of their project, so I was not within the window to be paid as far as the scope of their research. So just disclaimer there. The guide not only offers exciting background information on the reasons for and consequences of overconsumption, but guides readers in a low-threshold way to better understand their own needs, to declutter, and to consume less long-term. And they have a project website as well. Mine ding. It's my things, I guess. I am what I don't have. And you know, like I said, it's a German institute, TU Berlin, and I'm going to open the guide now. The guide is actually quite attractive. It's free. You can open it from wherever you are as well. The Compass to Reducing Consumption. So it's very nicely designed. It's got an index. You can click through the links in the actual document. So you can go click on each individual title here and it'll take you to the page. So it's nice, easy to navigate. The fascinating thing about this is that when I was reading this guide, it's 65 pages, so it's fairly comprehensive research. When I was reading it, the path that they outline is startlingly similar to the path that I myself took this year when I embarked on the journey of no-buy and made the commitment to step away from consumerism. And kind of, you know, what they were saying, you always declutter and things keep on reaccumulating and you can't make headway in your efforts to have a more simplified life. This is kind of where I was at, right? At the beginning of the no-buy, and that's why I knew I needed some personal change. So I did start the project of the structured no-buy and went through all of these same 5 stages of grief or whatever it is. You know, like it does appear that some of these experiences are going to be universal to anybody trying to break up with consumerism. So that's what I found so fascinating. It felt like one of those examples of simultaneous thought, right? Where somebody makes the discovery for the theory of relativity and somebody across the world makes it around the same time. And, you know, it's kind of like human development, right? I feel like we've reached this point as a society where we are reaching the saturation of ads and marketing and PR and glorified consumerism. And now so many people are turning away from it and searching for support on this path. And these researchers in Berlin made this guide that kind of outlines the steps of this. And I'll draw your attention to some specific pages that I found particularly interesting. But to just go through the overview, the table of contents, right? You can see what the aim of it is, what you can expect by reading it. It starts with examining the consequences of overconsumption. Why do we own so much? They provide some nice statistics here so that you don't just have to take my word for it or even their word for it. They've got research. Approximately 5 billion of the items in German closets, around 1 billion are never worn, and another billion are worn less than 4 times a year. So we're not using our stuff. More than half of the Germans use a smartphone that is no more than 1 year old. So again, the upgrading of technology. Every German produces 483 kilograms of waste. I can only imagine that this figure is higher for Americans. Buying opportunities are omnipresent and available around the clock, especially on the internet. So again, same as I discovered, same as I hypothesized was the cause of my over-consuming. I made a video very early on saying social media is the real problem. And it kind of is. It still kind of is. It's the saturation of marketing and ads and normalization of practices that otherwise would not be normal. And they go on to say that the consumption of goods fulfills many different functions. Acquiring simply feels good for many people. Shopping has become a leisure activity. In addition, consumer goods fulfill many social and ego-related needs through symbolic functions. This is why a pair of jeans can supposedly make you cool. Cuts close to somebody who currently wants jeans on her wish list for Christmas. A shower gel sexy and a car successful. So again, these are things we readily observe as soon as we remove ourselves from the cycle of participation in consumer trends. When we're not looking to buy, we look and we see all the things that enable us to buy or coerce us to buy or encourage us to buy in more gentler terms. The next section, 2.2, less is more. Being instead of having. I've talked about doing instead of having, right? I think being and doing are kind of connected in this regard. So fewer possessions leads to more well-being. Decluttering as a start to life with less. Decluttering is also something that I did fairly early on or started doing. So I started in my closet and then I did makeup and then I did jewelry. I've got books. I might have already posted the book Declutter. And I think it was fairly intuitive, right? Because part of being on a no-buy and doing this on the internet, I wanted the accountability, the full accountability, right? So if I buy something and add it to my wardrobe, there's no secrets. You have seen, the internet has seen everything in my wardrobe. So I can be called out every time I bring something new in. Same with my makeup collection, same with my jewelry. If you see me using something that I didn't have in that collection, and okay, I can still choose to not show something on camera, right? But that's not my MO here. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to give myself full accountability so that if I bring something new, I have the conscience of, oh, if I don't talk about it online and go through my whole process for purchasing this thing, for justifying it, for working through the narratives of consumerism, I'm forcing myself to do the work, basically, by setting up this kind of moral standard. You've seen all my stuff. So if I start buying more stuff, if you start seeing me wearing other clothes, and I don't expect you to keep track, right? I don't expect you to call me out on, oh, that shirt's new, right? You bought that on your no-buy or whatever. Or in years post no-buy, right? Like, you didn't tell us about buying that. Like, part of that is my reason, my self-imposed reason for doing this on here. So it's my idea, it's my choice. But with that display of my collections also came decluttering and awareness of what I have. And that is one of the big points in here, right? Decluttering, being aware of what you have, using what you have. The idea that less consuming is more sustainable. The idea that fewer possessions doesn't necessarily imply sacrifice. There's another connection to the book To Have or To Be by psychoanalyst Erich Fromm, contrasting a having way of life with a being way of life. So that sounds like an interesting source to maybe explore for myself as well. In the existence of being, people pursue their individual talents and gifts, practice critical reasoning, and act according to their values. Also what I'm trying to do this year, act according to my values. I've talked about that a lot, behaving in accordance with the values I prioritize. The human need for love and solidarity with others is a guiding principle, with giving and sharing playing a central role. The mode of existence of being is characterized by humanism, artistic and intellectual creation, solidarity and economic, social and ecological sustainability, political co-determination, and sensible consumption. So it touches on minimalism as a lifestyle in that section as well, which again, I like to take the positive aspects from and maybe kind of ignore some of the more problematic aspects of minimalism as far as the sustainability factor, where sometimes they advocate for getting rid of things that are still usable or perfectly good in the pursuits of having the simplified kind of aesthetic. So this is all in the category 2 of theoretical background. Category 2 also kind of touches on money and vacations as well, topics I've talked about here too. Okay, category 3 is practical implementation. Dedicate yourself to your things. So phase 1 is to contemplate, practically explore, and reflect on your possessions. Again, get an overview. What do you own and how much? What I did with exposing my collections of stuff online. Explore the relationship between you and your things. I frequently do that with my story times on here and the realizations I have. Phase 2 is cut down, mindfully get rid of things. I've been trying to do that too. I've got a lot of things listed for resale, trying to mindfully and sustainably pass these things on. This examines why it often hurts to part with things and how you can deal with it. Phase 3 is pass on, give things new purpose, goods in a circular economy. Phase 4, stick with it, the art of resisting, the power of consumer habits. Resisting the temptation to buy through more self-control, learning sustainable habits and dealing with things, and it's easier together. So again, this is kind of where I'm at right now, examining consumer habits, resisting the temptation to buy through examining my relationship with stuff, with advertising, with parasocial relationships, with these narratives of consumerism, these enabling narratives in some ways, these traditions and trends that suggest that we might have a better life or feel happy if we consume. So I'm trying to kind of break up with all of that, relearn the ways of thinking that have led me down this path of buying more than I need, thinking it's okay to buy super expensive things in some cases, wanting things that I don't really need, and, all of the above, all of the negative consequences of our consumer society. Breaking up with it all. And it's going to take more than 1 year, too. I've realized this as well. So Project No Buy will be a thing of 2025. The last section, the final sections are the background directories with the bibliography and sources and all that. The last section of information here, all's well that ends well, an agreement with yourself and your change in consumption and your social environment. So I see that last point as kind of managing your influences. The content you consume is a part of that. Consuming content, which is something I've consciously tried to do during this No Buy year with my digital detox series. How am I spending my time? Going to try some time blocking to both prioritize things that I do want to get done, as well as limit my use of technology to times that I am okay to do that. So, in the last section, this is page 55, all's well that ends well. Congratulations, you've been on a journey through your consumption world and you've now arrived here. Breathe out briefly and deeply again. You've made it. So now you know a bunch of stuff. If you're viewers of the channel, you've probably been along with me on a lot of this journey too. Or if you want to, you can go recap all of this journey in video form, as well as through this guide. You can make your own connections. You can do this journey yourself too. Whether you journal or make videos yourself, declutter your own collections of belongings, etc. You could do any or all of the above. I am going to do this exercise on camera with you today. The agreement with yourself. This is 4.1. After the background and suggestions for decluttering and sustainable consumption, you're sure to have many thoughts, insights, and wishes buzzing around in your head. To save these thoughts for the future, you can write a letter to your future self, and you can answer the following questions. They've helpfully provided questions for you. What motivated you to read the guide? What have you been able to implement from the exercises and tips? What insights did you have into your relationship with your things? What has decluttering done to you? What have you learned about your ownership of goods and your consumer behavior? And what are you looking for in your future consumption? I'm actually going to take a moment to write this letter. I'm going to do it by hand here. I'm going to get a piece of paper and a pencil. And after I'm done, I will share with you what I wrote. Might get a little bit vulnerable here. Okay, I finished my letter, so I guess it's time to read it. To future me. It's so exciting to see the connections that sharing your journey of stepping away from consumer culture online has already brought to you. One of those being the email that brought you this guide. One of those connections, I mean. This guide's exercises and tips closely paralleled much of my own experience, which gives me support and faith that what I'm going through is a common and surmountable experience. I have a community here built from not consuming, no less. I haven't lost any connection from stopping my habit or hobby of shopping. Rather, the opposite is true. And it feels really good, actually. My relationship with things was largely not my own, before this year. I wanted and I bought what I was told to by marketing, influencers, and other examples on social media, the things that others had. Now I have much stronger conviction in whether I want something because of practical use value or fantasy, and I also feel the weight of excess after decluttering and am determined to bring in less than what I let go of. And bring in less overall. Decluttering is not permission to reclutter with newer, better stuff. About my ownership of goods, it is becoming more transient. I don't feel the need for material things so much anymore. I'm much more okay with fewer and functional favorites rather than always looking for nicer or more. I don't make wish lists or fixate on things in real life, even if I do sometimes fixate on something in a video online. In my future of consumption, I hope to reclaim all, or as much as possible, of my own consumer narratives, break free from sources of marketing, and cultivate more presence and connection with the people in my life and nature, the earth we live upon. And that's it. Sincerely, me to me. If you did this letter yourself, I would love to read some of your examples online. I would love to hear your thoughts if you're open to sharing. And if you read the guide as well, if you appreciate having that as a resource, let me know that too. They did ask if I would share the video with them, so the people who did the research behind the study may or may not be reading the comments. I don't know. And if this is as fascinating to you as it was to me to know that this journey is being undertaken by people in Germany, people all over the world, let me know that too. I love this kind of moment of special connection. Like I said in the letter, one of these little sparks of connection was represented right here in this email and receiving this guide, and then being able to share it with you. Something positive, a source of positive support, some free research that's been collected. There's much more in the guide than I was able to cover in this kind of short overview, but I do encourage you to go check it out. I'm okay in influencing you to go click on this webpage. I can endorse the pursuit of this company, this institute, this research university, and have no qualms about exposing you to their content. You also don't have to, right? That's also your choice as well. But if it's something you're interested in, there you are. It's there for you. I don't normally do exercises like this either. Part of why I'm doing this letter to my future self online with you is because this is my accountability journal, my online diary of documenting my consumer habits, my change, my efforts in changing, my current thoughts and experiences. And here's the letter to my future self. Maybe I'll go back in a year and watch this video, talk about cringe, but who knows? Maybe I will, and maybe I'll have more comments on how far I've come in this journey and continuing on this path. What does the next mile look like? What does the next action item consist of? What other narratives will I break free of in the months and the years to come? We'll see. You can find out with me if you feel like it. Okay, I better wrap it up here. Bye for now, and I will see you in the next one.